I really feel that when I first got here and I saw some of the high level players, I'm like, you know what? Players are pretty good, but they're not nationally special. They're regionally special.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. We're getting to the point where there's more national special players, but we're still not even like close. What are you seeing in terms of your days of playing when it was you and Marcy and Pizzino versus today's? Like, do you think that the level, like, where are we trending? In your own personal opinion, your own eyes, where are we trending?
It's hard to say because, yes, I look at a lot of the skill sets and the amount of skilled players there are in the area, and I think it's beneficial because, one, if you're one of the best players, you should want to compete with the other best players every day. A lot of the time, sometimes we hide and shy away from competition because we don't like to compare ourselves. But if you're able to look at the player that's probably just as good as you and be like, that was awesome,
Yeah.
like do that again so I can get better, that's the culture you want to create.
Yeah.
And not everyone sees the next best player. Sometimes they see it as a threat. Sometimes you see it as like, okay, like they're going to push me. Like I want to go against her every single time.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say what the trend is versus my time because I just don't, I mean, I look back from 10 years ago and I'm like, I still have no idea what happened. Like, I have no idea. I was just a kid. I loved soccer. My parents were supportive. They wanted me to have fun and just work hard. And they cared more about, and a lot of credit to my parents. I'm like even more thankful now than I was back then, that they cared more about that I had fun and I just worked my absolute hardest. And I showed respect to the coaches and I was coachable rather than their goal was college soccer. Like they didn't know that I was going to go to college for
Right.
like playing soccer. They had no idea.
I think that's one of the biggest changes because now the expectation is that
Right.
like if you're at the Flash for 7 or 8 years, your expectation is you're going to play college soccer.
And that's a lot of time. Sometimes it's the parents' expectations, but is that the players' expectations? You don't really know until they feel like they can express that or they know for themselves.
For sure.
But I think it goes back to then, okay, a foundation. If you're building a foundation of a player that just works super hard, they're respectful to their teammates around them, and they just lead with a power that you're going to work hard, you're going to have fun while doing it, and you just love what you're doing, then your pathway will be created for you.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one thing that's nice about all your different spectrums too, is that when you deal with a parent from in here, you're basically, it's almost like a therapy session, or it's just contacting you about training. When you're working with the Niagara players, you probably don't even see the parents or talk to the parents at all. Right. Like that's not a thing at college soccer. But then you're at Flash, and then you could get emails almost every single day, and like yeah. You guys haven't really started games or anything with your little ones. You have a little.
No, yeah,
right?
we played about like 6 or 8 games.
Are you guys playing GOA or what are you guys doing?
8 games so far.
Are you guys playing GOA?
Yes.
Is it a lot? So is that a lot of travel?
Right now we've only gone to Cleveland one time. We go to Columbus one time, so it's really not that bad because now they have crossover weekends. So
Okay.
they'll have 3 teams come from Cleveland, Columbus, and Western New York, and everyone plays everybody, and it saves everyone kind of travel.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, your time at Flash so far, is anybody like hands-on with you trying to like mentor you or anything, or is it you just come up with your own plan, your own style, your own
Yeah, it's kind
curriculum?
of both. If you ever need anything, they'll give you the guidance.
Yeah.
I talk to Matt Waddington a lot. I love
Yeah.
him, and he helps me a lot too. But anyone there will lend a helping hand, like for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they also want you to start to experiment and try new things and find your voice and your coaching
Absolutely.
style. So I think it's both. And I think that's super beneficial for a young coach because I will need guidance. I do need guidance. But at the same time, I also do need to find my voice, my coaching style.
Yeah, and you'll find out. I came up under, I believed in mentors. I was chasing licenses early on, but when I think back or if I draw on experiences and stuff like that, I don't think about what I learned at a coaching course. I learned from the mentors and the guys the other coaches that I coached around or coached with, and you find out your own voice by working with others, and you realize that was really good. That was really bad. You find out what not to do at times too. And I mean, that's a big part of the self-awareness and the like, wow, I would not do it that way. Or
Yeah.
I'm going to try that. Stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to, again, as a player too, like every player is going to come across a good coach or a coach they deemed as bad.
Yeah, and then
And
we can have players in the same session. Oh, I love him. I hate him. It's like, it's just, and you could just tell from the players, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But is there anybody at Ohio State that hated their coach? You don't have to name names. Don't name names.
No, I know. I mean, no, but I mean, it's not your coaches aren't supposed to be your best friend. They're there to push you. They're there to make you better.
Especially at that level.
Especially at that level. They're always going to have your back, and they're always going to have a trusting relationship with you. Mm-hmm. But they're there to win, and they're there to make you a better player and a better person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be times where you have disagreements, and people have.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, you look back, and I'm so fortunate for all three of my coaches there, all four, because I had Lori Walker, Hawk is my head, Brian Jankowski, Gavin McLeod, and Michael Needham. I don't know why I just blanked on his name, but he was there for my first 3 years and then left when we got Gavin. But those coaches, like, I will stay in touch with forever, and I will call them anytime I have a question or just want to talk.
How do they I guess mental health wasn't really. Of course, it was a big deal, but it wasn't like it is today. So, did you have any at Ohio State? Did you have any help when, or any of your teammates have any help when they were going through it?
Yeah, on every team, you're probably going to have at least one person that has an experience that it just really opens your eyes and it shows that people do struggle.
Yeah.
But I also was a part of a club called Peer Educators. And it was about promoting mental health and mental awareness. And I joined that club because in high school I was a part of leadership clubs, peer educators. I was actually a club in high school too, and I just loved being a part of things. So when I got to college, I tried to be as part of many things as I could, and that was one of them. And we put on a whole mental health summit. We had Ryan Day come speak. We had Ryan Shazier come speak, and I was a part of putting that all together. And that
was obviously after the injury, right, of Ryan Shazier?
Yes. Yep,
Wow,
and that was like the first mental health summit we put on, and it was all student-athlete driven. And at first, administration was a little hesitant because you bring in mental health, and this is when it's all coming to society and the surface, and okay, now you open a can of worms with a lot of people. Yeah. What do you do now? So it was all very strategic. We were going to have this talk, and we had it, but then we were also going to have our psychologists on staff. They're at the event. They're following up because once you create this emotional response, how can you support the athletes now?
How are you translating that to Niagara? Because Niagara doesn't have the Ryan Day.
Right.
You know, like, so.
It's just, one is just creating a trusting relationship, and if they trust you, they'll be able to come to you for things. Yeah. And
do your individual meetings with players end up being that at all for some players? Because you're in here. Sometimes these end up just being therapy sessions, or they need to vent about something going on in their lives, and we're just there to listen, really. And
most of the time, as long as they're able to talk to you, that's like the hardest thing for a lot of people, is to express that. And there's been athletes that have come in here, and I can tell something's going on, and just by saying, listen, you don't have to talk to me, but find someone you can talk to because I know something's going on. And then within 5 minutes, they're crying.
Yep.
And it's okay, but the biggest thing that I want to make sure is that they have someone they can talk to. Because it doesn't have to be us. It doesn't have to be me. But right. I know if we know something's going on, there's probably maybe like one or two other people that know there's something going on as well.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I was walking in at the same time as a player, and she was abnormally quiet. And I'm like, are you okay? And we get all the way to the sign-in sheet, and she was fine. And then I look at her again. I go, are you all right? And she just started bawling.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough.
And it's like the minute someone goes, "Are you okay?" and then you're like, "No," and then you start crying. Like it's just that question, and then it's like, "No."
I mean, I like being that for them at times, but at times it's like, I wish I could just make it better. But I mean, we try. All we can do is just listen, give a little bit of advice, or talk about the situation. But at the end of the day, it's just like them, and it's an internal problem. And it sucks because a lot of people just need to know that like you're not alone, and they're also going through it. And this is one reason why I wanted to start these videos is every single player's journey is different. Every single coach's journey is different. And people just need to be able to share just a little bit of their experience to help others. Because a lot of parents, it's getting better now, a lot of parents don't know the recruitment process. You know what I mean? Or they don't know really what college soccer is really like. The very first few of these, I had a college player. He's a freshman now, and he was like, "Can you set up a seminar and bring all your college players and talk in front?" I'm like, 7 people would show up, 4 people would show up. I'm like, no, we're just gonna do videos, and I'm gonna post them, and people can find, different, see what the difference is, because now you're the second Power 5 player. Yeah, you're the second Power 5 player that I've talked to, right? And the Power 5 difference is just massive. You and Ella are the only ones that I've talked to. And you compare it to a player that's at like Mercyhurst, or which is Division 2, or Canisius. It's still D1, but it's nowhere near the funding. You know what I mean? But and the Power 5 difference, talking to Ella, is just ridiculous. Just the resources you guys have, the facilities, obviously, all the gear, all the equipment. But like, what was it like? Because you were there when Urban Meyer was there.
Yes.
How often did you see him? How are the seriously? Because I just want to know, because Michigan State is maybe interviewing him. I personally don't want him, but he's a good recruiter. I know that. But anyway, we don't need to talk about football. But what is it like, or what are the my head's going a million miles per hour. What are the facilities like at Ohio State? Like, are you sharing the indoor field house with football, or do they have their own thing and then everybody else has their own?
No, for indoor wise, all the sports do kind of share the field house.
That's how Michigan is too.
Yeah, and it's just about scheduling and figuring out times of everyone. But we also have like 3 or 4 turf fields right outside that field house.
Yep.
That are footballs, but also like we use them before. But right now they just built a brand new lacrosse stadium. They built a brand new tennis, gymnastics, wrestling arena in the last 3 years. And now I think they're breaking ground for, I have no idea, just a facility. Yeah.
And what was the training environment like in terms of treatment and recovery and stuff? Like, did you have all of the
cold tubs, hot
all
tubs?
The cold tubs, hot tubs, sauna,
Yep.
the legs and everything? And then some schools around here, is like they almost have nothing even comparable to that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like, yes, we have all those resources, but it's also like what you make. Yeah, it's what you make of it. How much do you actually use? And a lot of it is also things that everyone can control, like your hydration, your nutrition, your sleep. Like, you don't need to be at a school that has everything and a school that might not have as much to do those 3 things. Right.
Talk about sleep. So in college, in a season, how much would you try to get?
I mean, I learned freshman year, sophomore year. By the time I was a junior, senior, 5th year, I was an 8 p.m., 9 p.m. sleeper the night before a game. Because
we're talking 12 hours of sleep.
Strictly before a game.
10 or 11.
Yes, I was a grandma on the team. I went to bed at like 8 or 9 o'clock the night before a game.
Okay.
Because we always had a jog stretch in the morning and breakfast.
Yeah.
But I figured out along the way, after my freshman, sophomore season, what foods made me feel great, what foods made me feel sluggish. And I would wake up before our jog and stretch and do like a 20-minute bike flush, and I would jog and roll out and stretch all by myself before we did anything, because that made me feel great for game days. And I would do that probably at like 7:30.
Yeah.
So me going to bed at 8, 9 o'clock became part of my routine, so that I would wake up, have my own time to stretch, roll out, bike flush, and then join the team.
What a class what if you had class on game day?
You'd go to class up until a certain time.
Yeah.
So
and
up
then
until
you automatically
time
got
for
dismissed
meal.
or
Yes.
whatever. Yep. Wow. Did you have like a set meal, game day meal, or anything? I know Charisma does.
Yeah, I'm a very weird eater, especially on game day. A lot of things hurt my stomach, so I stuck literally to like oatmeal, banana, peanut butter, bagel. Like I probably had that 2 or 3 times a day before I played a game.
And then that'd be easy to access on the road too.
Yes, and I would bring my own stuff just in case like a hotel didn't have that.
And you played in the day of Friday game, Sunday game.
Friday and Sunday, and then we transitioned to Thursday, Sunday.
Which is so much better. I wish high school soccer would do that here. High school soccer, Grand Island boys.
Yeah.
Their first game was September, let's call it 1st, maybe August 30th. Their last game is Friday. Their last game. They crammed in, it's going to be the 6th tomorrow.
Yeah.
14 games in a little over a month. That's bonkers. That's insane. And that's why I kind of rip on high school soccer, and I can't believe that Flash.
Yeah, I mean,
at the ECNL level, I can't believe that Flash allows their players to play high school soccer, especially the 8th graders, the 7th and 8th graders. It's like they have a full ECNL schedule. And they're playing high school soccer. Emma was in here the other day. I'm like, how many practices have you had this week, including our training session? 10. How many games? 4. I'm like,
yeah, I know. And I think because I grew up back in the day where you just kind of went with the flow and things were great. Like, I don't know. I always thought high school and having 3 games in a row or 1 game and 2 games,
was normal.
that was fun. Because everything else is so regimented and schedule based and structured that high school, having games on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, it was fun because it was just a different season.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be less stressful than what especially for the players now. It's like, it's almost a release. But then somewhere towards the end of the season, you're like, I just can't wait to go back to club soccer. And then at the end of club season, you're like, I can't wait for high school soccer. And then it's just that's how it was with us.
Yeah, it's just a balance.
It was just a cycle of like, man, I can't wait for high school soccer. But yeah, like this.
But then when you keep saying I can't wait for something else, but before you know it, everything's done.
Gone. And everything's gone. And you're 22 and you can't play anymore because you're done. You've aged out and you're not good enough to play pro.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do now? Yeah. So take advantage of it. Suck it up. But that was crazy when I first got here in 2015. I was working with Empire, and this was after I was done with the Flash. I worked with Empire at this, before they were GA, but they tried to do this thing in Batavia where it was Rochester kids and Buffalo kids, and one of the girls, she's like, yeah, I had varsity practice the other day. I'm like, how old are you? She's like, I'm 12. I'm in 7th grade. It's like, what? It's rare that a 9th grader back home is on varsity. Here, it's like, and it's that regional special type thing again. That would never happen in most areas. And you would think that we're big enough to support where you don't need those 7th graders. And it's, no offense to that 7th grader, she's playing Division I college soccer right now. But it's like, are you on varsity as a 7th grader because you're that good, or is the level that bad? Usually, you drop her out in Will East, she is not on varsity. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so it's just that's a little rant of that was a culture shock. And it's still happening. That's what's crazy, is that all of a sudden we have an influx of Power 5 type players, right? Well, you got Linda and you got Rihanna and you got Ella and Shay and both Shays, and everybody's playing Power 5. But then we still have teams in high schools that still have 7th and 8th graders playing varsity. It's like, what is?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the times. Every couple of years you're gonna get Power 5. Every couple of years you'll get other schools. I think it just, yes, you want to think that you're building something here and you're changing the culture and you're changing styles, but at the end of the day, too, it just depends on the players.
Depends on the players, depends on the age group, because you can look at some age groups and be like, wow, that age group is just loaded.
Yeah.
And then the very next age group's like, that age group is
you just
not
don't know.
good.
You have no idea what you're going to get until they're there and they're looking at you ready.
And, I mean, how many players in your senior class went on to play college soccer? You already named a few. It was you, Riley, Taylor, DeMarco, right?
Yeah, she came. I probably played 1 year with her.
Is she
maybe two.
She
was a year younger.
She was a year younger. Marcy is your age.
Yep.
Right? Pizzino was older or younger?
Same age.
Same age.
Yep.
So we got that's 5. Who else?
I mean, you had Anna Davies. It was literally my whole team. Hannah Spitzer.
Yep.
You had Eileen Rath. You had Ashley Dibble. I mean, the list can literally go on. It was every single person that wanted to play college soccer.
Yep.
Amanda Burns.
Yep.
Everyone that wanted to play college soccer on my team played.
And then the following,
which is why it also was like, who is this Buffalo team?
Right. Because the next age group down, it wasn't the same case, right? For the most part.
So that's, the next age
Taylor.
Group down was when it was Taylor, it was Maya Palmer, Megan Root, that whole age group. And that's where you kind of had half that did play and half that might have not. Yeah.
What about the age group older than you? Non-existent?
I didn't really know much.
I mean, that's like,
about,
you're getting into like Charisma's age.
Yeah, and I think that's because I think Charisma was at Blackhawk. So I think just back then you had one team here, one team there, one team here, and there wasn't like a whole academy.
Right. Because now it's like every year, almost 100% of the ECNL.
Yeah, and ECNL didn't exist back then.
ECNL wasn't here. Flash moved into it. And their 03 group was really their first wave of... Well, technically you played for Flash.
Yes.
Your last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the first year of the merger of BSA and Flash. It wasn't a merger. It was a takeover. But yeah, there's no such thing. In soccer, in youth soccer, there's no such thing as a merger. It's just, it's a takeover or it's nothing. But that's a whole other conversation for another day. Yeah. So how many teams from BSA were there? Yours and a team younger. There was just 2. 3?
2, maybe 3.
2, maybe 3. Henrik stayed.
I honestly look back coach. And I'm like, I have no idea what went on.
What happened, right?
Well, I just because again, all I cared about was just playing soccer and having fun. Right. So I didn't really know anything else.
And you weren't in the ECNL yet?
No.
They weren't in the ECNL. I think it was the following year when they finally got into the ECNL.
Yeah, following year or following 2 years.
Yeah. And it's just crazy how now...
But I think now it's just there's so much more out there. There's more resources. There's more ways to be educated. There's more trainers available, coaches, you name it. So that's why it's also just, I guess, like I grew up with just having fun and loving what you do.
Right.
And if that got me to where I went, that's all you just need to love what you do and you'll be able to go wherever you want.
Yeah. I mean... It's crazy to me how this is a girls' soccer city. If you think about it, it's not a boys' soccer city. Just look at the schools. There's no Power 5 men coming, except if Rochester kids go to Syracuse or some RNY kids go to Syracuse, but nobody from Buffalo has gone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's crazy to me. That just because of the ECNL. And people might get pissed off. Is she still there? No. people might get pissed off at me, but like it's the platform. People on Twitter will be like, leagues don't develop players. Yeah, but they get you recruited. Because if the Flash weren't in the ECNL, these players don't get exposed. If they're even in the GA, they don't get the reach to all these college coaches. Whereas you can go to an ECNL event, and one of my first ECNL events that I ever coached, Mal Pugh was playing on the field behind me, and I've never seen so many college coaches in one spot, and it was unbelievable. And that's what these kids are being exposed to, right? And they're playing against future national team players if they're not national team players themselves. So, I mean, and that was something that Western New York was not exposed to at all, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to have to do this again. I could talk to you for like 8 hours.
We guess a couple minutes maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to do this again in a couple years or a year from now and just see where your head's at. It's like, I hate PlayMaker, or we won't do it in a year. It's like, I left that PlayMaker. Like, Jason's an idiot.
No.
Or I don't know. Maybe you.
Maybe instead of doing 5 or 6 different things, I have about 1 or 2 things on my plate. Let's hope that's the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal. And like
but I have to admit, I do love the chaos. I love chaos.
You like being busy. What else should you be doing?
I know.
You know? And
I can't sit still, so I'd rather be driving all over Buffalo.
You're never going back to corporate?
No.
Right. I mean, yeah. Let Ben do that. You know what I mean? Let him be. But
he can't sit still. As much as I can't sit still, he can't sit still either.
No?
He just likes like the on-the-go meeting with people, communicating with them. Like he just loves being around people too.
Yeah.
And he has such a good firm where he's at, so he loves it there.
Yeah, he's happy. So, all right. We are done. We did 53 minutes.
Alrighty.
Hopefully everything recorded. Didn't want to screw this up again.